We're going to get right in it today because we got a lot to chat about.
A French researcher was denied visa due to his opinions on Donald Trump. There has been a lot of misinformation over the years.
Oh boy. You know what? We're going to go back and forth with this. What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, and hopefully we have Cesar coming in. There he is. Dr. Vibe, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2018 Innovation Award winner, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner given out by the Canadian Epic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads, fathers, and male caregivers that's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And being part of that movement, we've reached out directly and indirectly to over 400,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers around the world. As always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, solution for someone's problem. You are watching Black Canada Talking on the first Sunday of August, 2025, August 3rd. Here in Toronto, it's Carabana weekend. If people know me a little bit, I call it Ameribana because there's so many Americans here. But the funny thing is, I didn't see too many ads for it. Now, again, I don't watch a lot of mainstream television, but I didn't hear a lot about it. So you know what? But it's Black Canada Talking. What is Black Canada Talking? It is a live online event where that involves Black Canadians' opportunity to give their takes and POVs on stories that are of importance to them. And hey, main Black Canadian, when we do Black Canada Talking, Cesar, what is up, Cesar?
Thank you so much, Dr. Vibe. Thank you so much to your team for having me always. I'm good. I'm here. We are one day at a time, indeed. First Sunday of this August 2025, and we have lots to talk about, of course.
Oh yes, and the Cesar was so kind to give us a little bit of extra time today, so we always appreciate it. But Cesar, you are not at home; you're on the road again.
Yes, and I thank one of my close friends. I'm here in his basement. Brother Caribbean, wife is African. A beautiful black couple, and it notably brings to me to remind all of our brothers, sisters, and allies to consider fostering. That's notably what they did. I allow myself to say it because we know about the disproportionate number of black children, black, dark skin, mixed skin, you name it. We know about the disproportionate number of black children in foster and adoption centers, and as such, let us support our community to show that love and really be a community of care. And yes, I also speak to the fact of black people who do adopt white children, non-black children. Let us also show them support in that process as well.
Good stuff. What when it comes to the foster care system
Mhm.
in regards to black children, on a scale of 0 to 10, what would you give a rating of it?
Allow me, and I'm not trying to be either a hypocrite or falsely naive per se. Everyone knows how I speak, but notably as regional director in child welfare, allow me not to give a rating because perception can be greatly varying depending on locations, but also depending on the agencies and the leadership at those agencies. So some agencies have seen progress, so agencies slash regions, while others have seen regression. But ultimately, what I will always encourage is for the community, the black community. And when I say black community, I'm talking about many white mothers of mixed slash black biracial children to be involved in changing the narratives for those children who too often don't get fostered in black families and too often become alienated to the black identity. So for that part, the consciousness is growing, but it doesn't seem so much like the fostering and adoption is increasing. And I'm not saying this as a jab. One has to understand the black community, and I'm really speaking here in general, being burdened by systemic racism, which notably include socioeconomic impact. We still live in 2025 with a black reality where too many Caribbeans, Africans, you name it, they're sending money back home to support family members overseas, making it not even a thought to foster and to adopt, on top of how difficult, but necessarily for safety, how difficult the very process can be. But still, the community has to be the change makers, not expectations of absolute change upon institutions. There's a lot of work that's been done. Congratulations to OACS, Ontario Association of Children's Societies. Congratulations to OVOV, One Vision, One Voice, in changing the narratives for Black children, youth, and families in child welfare in Ontario. But as I say, as I repeat, despite, and I can absolutely assure you, there are white allies, workers, as managers, as senior leaders, and yet, despite all of that, ultimately it is the community that must be involved to change those narratives.
That is very well said. Very, very well said. Before we go to break, anything going on in your life since we last spoke? Any wins?
Being alive is always a win.
Okay.
Being on the show
Oh my
every
god.
2 weeks. So I was explaining to my friends about the importance of being on the show. As I remind our people, it is absolutely not. Uh, we live in this time where there is an entire economy of attention. I am not an attention seeker, but if through the privilege of me being on the Dr. Vibe platform, um, it can help a brother, a sister, an ally, and notably to become involved. That is absolutely a win. Absolutely a win.
Well, I don't call it my platform, it's our platform because
Hmm.
I can't do it without individuals like yourself, individuals like producer Matt, who's its birthday today.
Oh, happy birthday.
I don't do it alone. If I did it by myself, I'd be missing out. And
Mhm,
this is a co-creative enterprise. 100%.
mhm.
100%. All right, we're going to take a break and whoa, we got topics as always to chat about, but we'll be back in about a minute and we'll see you then.
We invite you to the 3rd annual Toronto Pan-African Film Festival. Rhythm, heartbeat of Black music and storytelling, taking place at the First Unitarian Center at 473 Oakwood Avenue in Little Jamaica, featuring Play It Loud, Box Cutter, King's Court, Paid in Full, Sounds and Pressure, Amplify, Soundtrack to a Coup d'etat, Zeke, and Hip Hop Story. And join us for the African Diaspora Media Brunch, taking place on August 17th at the Aqua Supper Club, featuring Philip Scott from the African Diaspora News Channel. Get your tickets now by visiting tpath.com.
And we are back. And I've got to make everyone aware. Cesar comes on every 2 weeks. 2 weeks from today, I'm going to be down at that event. So I got to see if I'm able to boogie back and be on the show for that because I'm on a media panel for that event. But you know what? We'll find a way. All right, let's get down to some business, housework, house chores. Subscribe to the Dr. Vibe show on YouTube and hit the notification button. like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, and Substack. And I know that there's someone watching on Substack. So, hey, if you have any comments, I'm watching this on the Substack channel at the same time. To advertise your business, product, or service on our show, please email me dr.vibe at the dr.vibeshow.com. Can never forget Indie Soup TV, independent content creators platform run by my good digital associate, Dr. Tachi in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Excuse me. And they have about 28,000 YouTube subscribers in about 18, 19 months, and about 20 to 25 independent content creators. They've just launched another new season, and a lot of the content that you see on my platform is featured on that platform. Also, if you want to get a hold of Cesar, email address is president roots and culturecanada.com, and also his Facebook is Cesaremi Emery. Also, if you're watching this too, you can also swipe the QR code that's in the corner, and it will take you right to his Facebook page. And I'll say to people, I'm a little bit under the weather today, so I know you probably wouldn't. I think when the promo was playing, you may have heard a cough. That's me. That's me. So we're gonna get through this some way, somehow. All right. This is Emancipation Day weekend, Caravana Day weekend. So we thought best to start our first conversation, Emancipation Day and the three cancers of the Black psyche. Cesar, kick it off.
So much, Dr. Vibe. This is an important conversation, and please let us be mindful. Of course, Emancipation Day, August 1st, um, in honor or as a you know uh, remembrance of the British Parliament passing basically interdiction of slavery in 1833, abolition, which became official in 1834. How can I put it? So this week I started watching the Book of Negroes that played on CBC a few years ago, and I intend to be watching notably Volume 2, if we can put it that way, the most recent version. But the reason I wanted to really speak about Emancipation Day, of course, uh, you know, we must honor the memory of our deserving ancestors through slavery and the survivors, the fight that has been done, and the resilience through colonization, segregation, systemic racism, all of this notably happening in Canada. But I want us to talk about Emancipation Day today. Let us never forget the history, of course, and I always bring back the history, but let us anchor ourselves to today and project to the future. The reason I wanted to bring this up is talking about Emancipation Day through the lenses of the three cancers of the Black psyche. The three cancers of the Black psyche that are called entertainment, so toxic entertainment as part of a Black culture. Consumerism, simply put, Black people are not poor, but make poor economic choices, condemning them to poverty beyond systemic racism. And last but not least, religion, the adherence to Islam and Christianity, aka foreign, white led ideologies that have enslaved and colonized us, and thus we have internalized them and keep perpetuating the harm it has done upon us. No matter how people like to bring Brother Martin Luther King, Brother Malcolm X, and many others, ultimately, we live in a world in which those ideologies still hurt us, and no white/slash non-black people are being led by black ideologies. But let me go in order. Let's start with entertainment as we speak of Emancipation Day. We are in 2025, and it truly saddens me. I could even say hurts me to have to come to this analysis. I don't think I'm wrong, but I don't like thinking that I'm right. When we look at the stories, and I'm not here speaking about Buffy, I'm going to speak about another one. Another of her brother, Shannon Sharp. A brother who basically, it has been revealed, has had a settlement with that young white woman. I think she's 19 or 20 years old, following from her, if I'm not mistaken, allegations of rape and coercion, sexual violence, but as well revealed, racist slash slavery language around sexual fetishism. I have to be honest. I don't like thinking I'm right, but I don't think I'm wrong. For far too many of our brothers, including those who have become rich and famous through their hard work, too many of our brothers, the success of civil rights and therefore of emancipation has come access to white women, has come to access to white women, sex with white women, marriage with white women, and fetishism around white women. It is a big conversation that many in the black community find controversial. To me, it isn't. Allow me to repeat something I've always said: racial relationships or marriages. I will be quite a hypocrite. My wife is mixed, African American and Canadian. My baby sister is mixed, Cameroonian and French. Some of my mentees are mixed, many friends, many relatives, many colleagues. The criticism is not about that. But when we talk about interracial relationship, we're talking about the mindset of the people. So when we see a brother such as Shannon Sharp in this story, which is quite embarrassing, you see, the problem is this: when it comes to the nature of systemic racism, one black man or black woman's fall spreads on the entire community. Meanwhile, we look at other communities that are more successful. Example, Bernie Madoff of the Jewish community, his fall did not spill into the entire Jewish community. That becomes a problem. Further to that, when I talk about consumerism, I was quite saddened to hear the story of a successful black entrepreneur in the United States, I believe in Maryland, a Cameroonian hair entrepreneur by the name of Nadine's Hair, who was featured at the Essence Festival, which was, if I'm not mistaken, from what I understood, managed or directed by Africans from the continent, and thus they put to the forefront, notably, many African companies, hair companies, including the very successful Nadine's hair store. Now, before I continue, and of course, it's easy to see that I'm going to talk about the ADOS, American Descendants of Slavery, and FBA, Foundational Black Americans. Before I speak about them, first and foremost, I would have to say that I do disagree with the notion of anyone, not even Africans, running an event which has been pioneered by African Americans and taking that moment, that platform to put more to the forefront, from what I read, Africans. That is disrespectful. It's not proper. But this is a larger conversation, such as we're having right now in Ghana. People in Ghana are protesting for Nigerians to be kicked out of Ghana. This is a larger conversation in which, in the United States, there are conversations about division between Africans versus African Americans. How can we look at the enemy? And for those who don't understand my language, the enemy is not white people, the enemy is white supremacists. How can we look at the enemy and divide ourselves further as if we're not already divided enough? To what extent can we talk about emancipation To what extent can we talk about black community? To what extent can we raise the fist and say, I'm black and proud, if we're looking furthermore at the one who looks like us and we want to further divide and push them away? The organizer made a mistake, but that mistake must not be further fuel for more division. In the words of our leader, Malcolm X, who taught you to hate yourself, it's not just a matter of hair and nose and lips. It's a matter of mindset. Do I see the other black as my fellow brother or sister? Don't get me wrong. I know what some people are going to say. Not all skin folk are kin folk, of course. Of course. But there is a fundamental problem if already we do tribalism among ourselves as if all Africans are united or all African Americans or all Caribbeans. In the racist system that we live in, we are seen first and foremost as black and treated as such. During COVID, the State Department sent emails to black Americans in China warning them that they might be treated and they will be treated just as the rest of the other black people, aka Africans. Just as we know very well, racist police does not ask for a passport before shooting a brother or a sister, a black youth or a black elderly. Last but not least, when we talk about emancipation, of course, how can I not talk about religion? But religion in the sense in which Africa, and we talk about, the situation in Israel, Palestine, and I'm like, what about Sudan? What about Congo? Nowhere close to the same amount of media exposure. And yet we have so many charlatans, notably in Congo, who are further alienating our people in the name of religion because of it's a business. But even when we look at the United States, and some people may not like this, Pastor T.D. Jakes, among others, have been exposed as being charlatans. I always say all religious leaders, especially black ones, are charlatans. I welcome anyone who wants to debate that. They are charlatans. Ultimately, they are charlatans. It's not an insult, it's not an attack. It's the same way as the logic that ultimately a police officer, by the nature of his work, will enforce laws that even he or she knows are unjust. If they want to remain a police officer, they will enforce that law. It's the same thing with these religious leaders. Pastor T.D. Jakes, was it that he was arrested for having stolen from from the finances of his own church? The very nature of us speaking about Emancipation Day must go beyond a reminder of slavery and the resilience and the fighting struggles to civil rights and decolonization. Are our minds emancipated? And as such, are our practices emancipated? And as such, not, I give you a perfect example. A couple of friends of mine who called me when they had the child, the first child. They had a family dispute with the parents, with their own parents. They wanted to give the child an African name. Meanwhile, the parents wanted to give the child a name from the Bible, a Western name, a socially acceptable name. Are our minds emancipated? Allow me to stop here. But before I do so, let me give one last example because it's great to speak about entertainment, consumerism, and religion. But there is another element that I must address as a Pan Africanist. I avoid speaking about Dr. Umar Johnson just as of other black leaders that I respect but may have differences with them, such as Dr. Boyce Watkins. But I find it unfortunate and sad when, whatever the reasons, Dr. Umar makes a video asking for donations due to a situation regarding his banks. I do not know. a brother that we should respect in regards to his knowledge, notably in finances, sharing the video of Dr. Umar, but from a lens of mockery and downing him further. While we fully know how, for many years, well, I think up to 15 years, there were speculations in terms of what was happening to that money that was to go for the creation of the school. And I believe uh, the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey School actually did open. But still, it's a reflection among us that we must have. And as such, when we speak about Emancipation Day, let us address the nature of entertainment, and notably the lust and fetishism too many of our brothers and more sisters have towards white slash non-black people. Let us address the very consumerism in which we are not poor, but we mismanage our funds, and notably we become actors in further dividing ourselves. Let us address the very aspect of religion, which continues to be shackles in our heads. And let us be honest about the fight for liberation through Pan Africanism, in which, for too many, either have the self interest or in claiming liberation. I give one last example. Spike Lee criticism of Tyler Perry. As Tyler Perry's latest movie, Straw, I like the movie, but I still criticize Tyler Perry because we know how Tyler Perry makes his movies, always negatively casting black men, especially dark skinned brothers. That's a problem. We have to be able, and we must be able, as adults, as mature, educated people, ourselves accountable in order to be able to stand strong as a unit against enemies of our people.
Cesar, as usual, fantastic thought process and sharing. Just want to say we have someone here out here. Ryan Knight says, "Good day, gentlemen. Good to see you here, Ryan. Good to see you."
Good day, Brother Ryan.
Hey, we could just spend the whole conversation on this, but I'm gonna pick some points here. I'm glad you brought up the whole Essence Festival
Mm-hmm.
because there was a number of African Americans who were not comfortable that the Essence Festival is now being run and controlled by Africans.
That is a false argument in the sense in which, let's be honest, Dr. Vibe, as you're in Toronto, who controls Caribana?
Not people who look like us anymore.
It's not even not Caribbeans.
That's
It's
right.
people who don't even look
Look
like
like
us.
us. Yep.
And yet, are black people boycotting?
Nope.
There you go. So the issue is less that it's Africans, more how and why. Because if we go back, we are in 2025. Let's go back 17 years ago. There are many African Americans, and we have to be able to talk about the very tribalism. We have to be able to talk about the xenophobia, but also Republican voting into too many African American minds. We go back 17 years ago, there are many African Americans who still have not digested that the first black president of the United States is a certain Barack Hussein Obama, born from an African father and therefore not a descendant of slavery. These are divisive talks. I can understand the emotion, but these are divisive talk in the larger conversation. My issue was not that Africans were running the Essence Festival. My issue becomes the way in which they run it. And that's why from the very start, I said Africans running a festival, an African American traditional festival as Essence, they should not have put to the forefront Africans. Put to the forefront Nadine's hair because it's well run, it's successful, yes. But the perception of Africans putting forward Africans at an African American festival, that is disrespectful. In that sense, I can agree with the African Americans who are offended, but never I will agree with them because it was Africans running it. Very important nuance.
Okay. Usually see this person chiming in during the morning vibe, Monday and Friday mornings at 9 a.m., but he's here this afternoon. Hello, Office of Tim Frey. Good to have you here this afternoon. Uh, I heard an interesting commentator, black gentleman, make a very interesting statement this week, and it just adds on to what you've been sharing with us. He said that black people aren't broke, but they're broken.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen it too many times. I've seen far too often. Look, I remember this article that I read about how I think it was in Detroit. I might get the city wrong, but I think it was in Detroit. The police, overwhelmingly white police officers, were able to know and therefore to catch brothers who were not paying the child support. You know why? They just had to look at Foot Locker, the time of releases of the new Jordans. Guys in the hood who were having those new Jordans, the new Nikes, and yet they were in arrears in regards to the child support. The community is not poor. When the minds are not right, the choices become also not right.
Do you feel I always, and I guess Ryan's here, we always have conversations about this. When someone tells me the black community, I say, where is it? I believe this is just me. I feel we have a lot of black neighborhoods. I don't know if we have black community. What are your thoughts on that statement?
We do have a black community, and I will absolutely maintain this as very visible as during segregation. During segregation, indeed, there was a black community. Yes, there were division. The easiest example is to talk about the vision of what we would call reconciliation, led by Dr. Martin Luther King and the Civil Rights Movement, versus the movement of separation, led by Brother Malcolm X and the Nation of Islam. But there is a black community, as I was saying earlier, notably taking the example of Shannon Sharp, in which the fall of a black man or black woman tends to reflect on the community as a whole, where we end up unwillingly or not, justifying that we are not like him or her. Meanwhile, you have other communities in which it would never cross the mind of the average white person to have to defend themselves from of not being racist because Trump has been elected. We also do have another matter of a black community, as I often give in examples in trainings and conferences. Black people, unfortunately, due to systemic racism and so many black leaders in the Americas, just as in Africa, the legitimate true leaders who cared about the people, killed by the system of white supremacy. One thing remains truthful. As individual as far too many black people are, aka you're more likely to get many black men to be interested in watching the basketball game or football game than to go down the street to protest. But in the same sense, you're more likely to get sisters, too many sisters, caring about the latest weave or wig or whatever you want to call it, than down the street to protest. But ultimately, there is the reality and the experiences of being black, being pulled over by the police officer. Trust we can have in the system, even a police officer, even a chief of police, even a black judge will be a victim of systemic racism. It is the nature of the system that forces the reminder to all of us that we are a community. Unfortunately, for far too many, they need the experience of racism or being victims of racism, sometimes of abject racism, to remember that they are black first before whatever professional title, academic title, car that they drive, club they're part of, wife in brackets, non-black wife that they're married to remember that they're black first. The system will remind you that you're black first and that you belong to that community that you may have wanted to leave by getting a white picket fence into the white neighborhood.
Do then what are solutions to turn this around or reduce the cancers?
The solutions have already been there, Dr. Vibe. The problem is that most of our people don't want to listen. And I gave from right from the start a perfect example of a brother older than me. And I think older than you, Dr. Vibe, Shannon Sharp. This brother was clearly told by Cat Williams and Monique on his own show. He didn't care. This brother had the mouth and he self contradicted himself in the worst possible matter of ways, killing his own reputation. It's reputational suicide. This is not the white man doing that to him. This is not the system doing that to him. We can't even blame this young white girl. She's 19, 20 years old. I think I read even younger than his own daughters. This is sabotage in plain sight. Famous, successful, eloquent brother. It's a constant reminder that as adults and grown up, beyond taking accountability, we make choices. We make the choice of listening to the hip hop spreading the N word, the B word, the C word, etc., etc. Meanwhile, Cardi F doesn't let her children listen to her own music. Meanwhile, we see the degradation of mental health and racial alienation of Kanye West. We make that choice of bringing negative images and mindset into our kids, a positive one in the name of entertainment. We make the choice to support a black owned business that's giving us quality service, or we make the choice of going to support that other non black business. As I've seen too often, black people will go to the Arab, Maghrebi, Muslim business in the name of religion before going to support a brother or sister simply because they are of a different religion. Meanwhile, I see other communities crossing town to support their own people. It's a choice. And before anyone think I'm a hypocrite, I travel very much for work. My receipts are from black owned businesses more and more. You have to show the support. You have to put, what is it again? Put your actions where your mouth is, or something like that. And when it comes to religion, black people are the number one liars to themselves in justifying continuing to perpetuate the very religious ideologies that enslaved them, colonized them. You know, kind of that expression, black people hate everything about slavery and colonization, but Jesus and Allah. Meanwhile, we have African spirituality. And when I say African spirituality, don't get me wrong, I am not a hypocrite. Not all African spirituality is good. Not all aspects of it is good, just as not all aspects of traditions are good. But we have to be able to make a choice. I tell my daughter, you are black and proud. Wakanda forever, black power. This is how we finish our affirmations. I'm intelligent, I'm beautiful, I'm brave, I'm black and proud. Wakanda forever, black power. What do we want to teach the next generation of black children in terms of their own identity in front of the mirror and the challenges of life that comes to them? When we look at the studies of substance abuse, sex work, mental health, and so many other negatives, homelessness, negative statistics and data, there is a constant prevalence. It starts in the household and the family environment. The dysfunctions from childhood, ACE, Adverse childhood experiences, but also notably the family environment, are a direct link to the consequences of being an adult. It is not accidental, in which far too often members of the black community are broken because they come from broken households that have built broken individuals. It starts from young. As our hero Frederick Douglass said, it is easier to build children than to repair broken adults.
All right. So we got some comments here. Ryan says we can't let go of the dream. A strong community is possible. And Sandra Davis, haven't seen you here before, but welcome. I agree with you, Ryan. All right. Uh, Before we move on to the next subject, then, do you agree that if there's going to be a trial, it has to start from the home, the family?
Absolutely, always starts from the home. Always starts from the home. And the home, we must encourage having united black families, black couples, because it starts when we say we start with the home, it starts with the individual, the and the family. But let us not be mistaken. It is not enough to have the presence at home, example of a black father or a black mother. We have to support the active involvement of those fathers and mothers, notably in fostering the love of self and the love of the identity, in shielding the child that becomes the youth, that becomes the adult, shielding them, preparing them of society out there. If we don't, we fail ourselves and we fail the next generation. And we
Mm.
become, and let me add, we become complicit to white supremacy and systemic racism that intentionally intends to destroy the black community, just as in the late 60s and early 70s, bringing drugs into the hood, just as bringing subliminal messages in advertising, movies, and culture, promoting toxic rap, toxic music. We become complicit to the pastors and priests, etc., and imams with interest, but seeing black pride, black businesses flourishing. Those that show more black spirituality than any Sunday in any black church. It becomes a choice. In 2025, the 21st century of STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, a century of mass communication, mass education, mass information. Ignorance is a choice when so many people are holding a smartphone or behind a tablet or laptop or computer. Ignorance becomes a choice.
Mm. I think in lieu of time, we'll move on to the conversation topic, but I think we're going to revisit this one. We need to go deeper on this, but let's move to another conversation piece. And thank you everyone who is watching live today. Appreciate you all. And the top commentators on the Dr. Vibe Show YouTube channel, Ryan Knight, Karen Rowe, and Tim Frey. So let's see if we're going to have any change in the standings on who's bringing in the comments. Next conversation piece, the Epstein Files and 47, sex trafficking and the silent victimization of Black girls and women.
I think it's very telling. The shock of many people in regards to what's her name? First of all, it makes me laugh. People keep calling her Ghislaine Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell. Uh, uh, her being changed, put into basically a prison camp, if you want to even call it that way. Uh, it's shocking a lot of people, and yet, how to be surprised coming from the character of a certain Mr. Trump, aka grab them by the P word, How can we be surprised in an administration that doesn't even try to hide its level of corruption, blatant as it is? How can we be surprised when the very claims of what is it, draining the swamp and fighting the deep state, revelations becomes that Trump's name is mentioned in the Epstein files? Mr. Trump, who for a long time did speak highly of his friend Epstein in terms of liking women, beautiful women, notably on the younger side, as himself. And I'm not trying to, I don't adhere to conspiracy theories, but coincidences. So, in the case of Mr. Trump himself, he tells more than even he realizes, and as such, uh, we have to be able to have that conversation in which we must recognize how sex trafficking, human trafficking, are so prevalent in a society that claim to have ended slavery, that uh, claim to be about democracy and human rights, and yet so many people suffer in plain sight, and the suffering is basically like pound for the rich and powerful. And when I say like pounds for the rich and powerful, the suffering is not accounted for. How can we be having an administration that is open to making a deal with a convicted sex offender, with someone who abated and assisted? And please, we can easily see the angle connecting with Sean Puffy Combs and his trial, in which if a pardon or commutation is given to Ghislaine Maxwell, why not to Puffy? And I'm saying this in recognition to the fact that majority of Americans brought back to power Donald Trump despite fully being made aware of his intents and having been aware for years of his character. So who and why should anyone claim to be surprised is the question. And I say this, please don't get me wrong. Maybe members of those families or victims did vote for Donald Trump. Let us be honest here. It's a terrible thing. And in that terrible thing, let's be honest about the silent victimization of black girls and women. We're talking about sex trafficking. Black girls and women, yes, sex trafficking can also impact boys and men, but overwhelmingly, let us be honest. It is a topic of female victimization. And as such, black women victimized tend to pass under the radar, not even being taken into account in the conversation. This is a conversation in which we cannot deny 2025. Most people in the late 30s, 40s, 50s, and above remember the name of this child, John Bennett. Blonde hair, blue eyes, absolutely a victim. But the fact that she was for so long on the cover of magazines speaks to so many black children, girls and women, and also indigenous, and also Latinas, brown, that never make it to the cover of magazine. When we have the situation such as um, we see with social media in Dubai and the Middle East, aka Porta Potty, first African girls. I don't know, Dr. Vibe, if you heard about the Porta Potty situation.
Not familiar with it, unfortunately.
I am sure you have. I'm gonna explain what that is. Human toilet. African girls being sometimes you have to say kidnapped because when they're having the passport taken, it becomes a case of kidnapping. African girls becoming rich, and then it became revealed how they became rich because they were used as sex workers and notably used in some BDSM fetishism. Um, how do you call that? Bestiality, sex with animals, scatology, so pee, poo, you know, pissing and urinating, all these type of elements in which the mistreatment has led many to suicide, to abuse, rapes, etc. Uh, Even white girls, notably from Eastern Europe, of course, as there is a long history of enslavement, the very term slavery coming from Slavic people, aka Eastern Europe, those girls being sex trafficked. But the very nature of the victimization of black girls and women is a topic that's too often taboo in the larger conversation of sex trafficking, a conversation which goes beyond race. But whether we look, for example, so I give you a perfect example here. When we were in Paris, in France, um, one night going to drop off the night of, my gosh, the night of my wife's birthday that we celebrated in downtown Paris. As we drove one of my cousins back to his hotel, my wife, it was the second time in Paris, right? She loves it. But she's seen mostly the beautiful side. This time I wanted to show her the other side of Paris. The side they don't show you in the movies and on the postal card. You should have seen my wife's face when I showed her one of the spots where you have so many Asian, I don't want to say Chinese, it's too easy to say Chinese, Asian prostitutes, sex workers, each with a van along the street. She was in shock. She was like, I'm like, yeah, these are sex workers. Each van at the driver wheel, it was a woman. That's basically where she conducts her business. All Asians. So this is an issue that impacts so many people, but we need to have that conversation. We need to look at eye to eye this administration in terms of the Epstein files. I mean, they fed the conspiracy, right? They talk of draining the swamp, fighting the deep state. Allow me to give kudos to one of you media colleagues, Joe Rogan, who clearly seems to be awakening, or maybe I should say reawakening, and asking the right question in regards to this administration, such as on immigration, but notably here regarding the Epstein files. So that's basically what I would have to say about this sex trafficking. And please don't make me forget Canada, Quebec City, Montreal, Ottawa, Gatineau, Kingston, Toronto, Windsor, Detroit, USA. The corridor of sex trafficking, it is present here. It's not just indigenous girls, it's not just white girls and women, it's also black girls and women. And there's too much silence about it. It's matter of fact a topic that I will address in my email to professionals and senior leaders uh, tomorrow or Tuesday. I will bring forward the issue of sex trafficking in Canada, just as notably in a place as Dubai.
What reason do you have that this is not taken more seriously?
With a tribute to feminist views, although I'm not and I can never be a feminist. But first of all, we have to acknowledge that a world of patriarchy, a world ruled and controlled by men, will by default objectify women's bodies. At the same time, we have to recognize the very nature of capitalism in the exploitation of people's bodies. And notice, I said people, I didn't just say women. When we talk about modern slavery, aka the labor conditions of humans, we can see how so many men are broken, taken advantage of. Is perfect example Qatar 2022 human rights violations, notably by uh, foreign workers, overwhelmingly from poor countries, black and Southeast Asian, underpaid, abused, etc., etc. But at the same time, the very nature of sex trafficking, in terms of its revenues, we're talking about multi-billion-dollar uh, criminal industry, and we have to be honest to link it notably to the pornography industry, which notably is fed with sex trafficking. No, I am not necessarily talking here about Montreal, Ottawa, New York, and LA Porns Valley, where it's more legitimate and notably more a matter of choice of the woman. We have to be careful. Indeed, a woman or a man can choose to be a sex worker. When I say choose, that choice is very often steeped into, um, family dysfunction, substance abuse, socioeconomic unrest leading to that choice, but still a choice. However, sex trafficking, being very real, notably feeds through capitalism the economic imbalance of those who have, and very often men of certain means, with those who do not have, vulnerable girls and women as young as teenagers, in feeding the desires with the lust of materialism, aka a little bit of money for great degradation. It's criminal. It's criminal. But to what extent are people willing to tackle that issue? As example, slavery, so direct chattel slavery, eventually was tackled. By example, in the United States, it took a civil war. Today, there are more people in enslavement condition than at the height of the 19th century. Sure, there's also more population, global population, but it speaks volumes. Whether we talk about North and Central America, whether we talk about Africa and the Middle East, or we talk about Asia, sex trafficking is very real, and it's definitely linked patriarchy, capitalism, but also traditions. You have this aspect of traditions, very taboo topic, where in certain families, prostitution is indeed either part of the family or something to which people turn a blind eye to, yet everybody knows how the money's coming in. And in saying this, I'm talking about female prostitution just as male prostitution.
I have before we go further, I have a very close friend, and she's very passionate about this subject and just in general, just how men treat women. She says men are the problem. What are your thoughts about that?
Yes, men are the problem, but please, to a certain extent, men are the problems, but it has to be a little bit more nuanced. And the reason why I say this is like this: it's a market logic where, as long as there is, you know, supply and demand, as long as there's a demand, there's a supply. So here it goes back to something as we were talking in the previous segment, talking about it starts in the household. We need to better educate our boys, but too often when people say that, they forget to add we also need to better educate our daughters. We never know how one person can end up. People make their own choices, life happens, people can have mental breakdowns, etc., etc. A shocking statistic, example in the sex work line, notably prostitution and pornography, is how I can't remember the statistic. I read that a few years ago, but so many white girls in the porn industry in the US come from religious conservative families. So it's not just a matter of the family, but it's also how issues are addressed, and how the families run. In saying men are the problem, it would imply that women are also part of the problem because men don't raise themselves. Women, mothers, overwhelmingly are present, notably in perpetuating certain messages about the construction of the male identity, and society as a whole contributes to it. It is no accident that we see, notably in media and entertainment, so many women becoming active participants in their own objectification. Allow me to give an example. So I'm not saying this as if I know the artist. I talked earlier about what's her name, Cardi F. There is a singer,
If
Shansi.
you're allowed me to interrupt, it's Cardi B.
Oh, it was a purposeful accident.
No problem. Continue.
But this singer, I believe her name is Shansi, Jamaican singer, if I'm not mistaken. But Shansi, from what I see, and it's not a criticism to Shansi herself. I do not know her. Don't even ask me the title of one of her songs. But whether we talk about Cardi, you know I like to say F, you know why I say F, but whether we talk about Cardi B, Megan, The Stallion, or Shansi, and so many other names, no one is forcing them to make videos and dances of that nature. And please, don't nobody dares to criticize me in claiming that I might be some type of conservative or morally conservative wanting to put women in a burqa and to trap them at home. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I'm saying society in which women contribute to their own women. Too many women contribute to their own objectification, but that objectification is linked to the very nature of patriarchy and capitalism, in which ultimately men are in control and direct that narrative, whether we're talking about entertainment and consumerism, or we are looking at, uh, example, the entertainment and pornographic world, because men are the ones who truly do have that money. It's the same conversation as why is it that rap music has become so anti-black in terms of the messages, in terms of the lack of black consciousness for far too many. The record executives are white. But we cannot just point the finger at the white record executives without addressing the artists who choose to perpetrate the use of the N word. What's his name? Malcolm Jamal Warner, notably criticized modern hip hop for that reason. It's the same way in which we cannot address sex trafficking and a society in which too many women are objectified by just pointing the finger at boys and men. We must also address girls and women. To not do that would be as hypocritical as to talk about racism and just point the finger at white people as if there's some evil race of aliens who came to objectify and enslave and colonize black people without addressing too many black people who are willfully uh, a bunch of coons and other terms that we can use for the willing contribution uh, to perpetuate anti-black stereotypes.
All right, we have had a number of comments, so we just got to catch up a little bit here. A little way back, Karen was gonna saying I was about to comment on Canada. Cinema Canella, who's usually chiming in on primetime Saturdays here, saying sex traffic is heavy all around North and Central America. Karen says maybe saying how some men contribute to the problem is better, but to say men are the sole problem is removing how these men accept these pro-serialized ideas, or she says they're pro-sexualized ideas. She was correcting. Uh, Free Will is here. He hung out yesterday on primetime side saying, listening, not going to comment much. And then Karen says, if you're talking about the music industry, artists are given steep incentives to sing, rap negative lyrics.
Absolutely, we know this. But then, let's be honest. the poverty in our community. And when I say poverty, I'm not just talking about financial or material poverty. I'm also talking about Black consciousness will make someone accept such a deal, will make someone accept such an offer in which they know what they're projecting out there. When Kim Kardashian shot that sex tape, she knew what she was doing. That's why she was distressed years later that her children would come across that tape. Obviously, they would. And obviously, they will be made fun of because that's the mother. When Cardi, and please, when Cardi B does address the fact that she doesn't let her own children listen to her music and watch her videos, but she produces it for the children of others. Of course, they're going to say, I'm not forcing you children to watch, but they know what they're doing. Do we see Chinese artists, Jewish artists, Indian artists making music and videos in which they call themselves by the N word? They refer to the woman as such? No, they don't. So, whether we're talking about Emancipation Day or we're talking about sex trafficking, not just about pointing the finger at the evil white man, the evil white corporations, if we don't look at ourselves back and address ourselves. And this is also a conversation in addressing Black leadership in our communities. And I'm not talking Black leadership about the next Malcolm or MLK. I'm talking about Black leadership in terms of the Black father at home, the Black mother at home, the Black teacher. I'm talking about that white non-black ally who takes that extra 5 minutes to spread some black consciousness, to spread some black pride, to listen to that black youth. As an educator in the school systems, how many times did I not have black kids, teenagers, shed tears telling me no one ever told them this? No one ever talked to them. And I'm saying this, I've had white children, Arab children, indigenous and Asian children tell me the same. Teenagers who are not black saying, we never heard someone talk like you. That's the leadership I'm talking about. We are all leaders. We don't need the next MLK, Malcolm X, Mandela, or Sankara, especially at the risk of being killed by the system. We need each and every one of us to step up, to turn off that music, to say, no, this is not playing. I remember a time, and it still has been the same, when BET made that shift after, I forget his first name, last name Johnson, the owner, when they sold BET to Viacom in my family home,
Robert Johnson.
Robert Johnson, in my family home, BET was turned off. There was no more BET. There was no more BET. When Tyler Perry makes those overly stereotypical movies and negative depictions of black people, it doesn't play. When there is any song, any music referring to black women by the B word and this and that and that and that, and projections of rape and violence of black women, not allowed in my house. Not allowed. I don't want to hear it. There is no debate. It is allowed.
I just want to interrupt. It's interesting. He says that 47 said yesterday, 47 addresses pardon decision for Sean Diddy Combs, says Mogul was half innocent. He also said that Sean Combs' pardon is more difficult to do since Combs was hostile to him. So so basically he's saying if he wasn't hostile to him, he'd probably give him a pardon.
Well, it's about loyalty with this guy.
Of
It
course.
has nothing to do with the Constitution, laws, etc. Because he himself is a lawbreaker. He himself is a constant violator of the Constitution beyond January 6, 2021. He has made it clear, as we see with his own administration, it's an administration of loyalty, not an administration of competences, coming from the person who criticized DEI/EDI as woke ideology and divisive ideology.
So Karen says, free will, please comment. This is Dr. Vi's space. It's all our space. It's not my space. It's all y'all's space. He says, the algorithms give photos through their programming. Their programming codes stem from a colonial mindset. AI is just another program.
I agree. And I did address AI, artificial intelligence, at the United Nations in April in terms of how it is used to propagate anti Black racism due to the very racism, white supremacy in society and culture, but as well, it is for us to change the narrative. And I notably gave the example of the artist named Prince, who had invested in coding and notably investing in black and brown youth. That change, we make choices, the same choices that we make in terms of which clothes to wear and where to spend our dollar are the same choices that we must make in showing our black identity, our black pride, and therefore creating a better black community. In my neighborhood, yes, upper middle class, blah blah blah. I'm like the community, how do you call it? The community uncle or community father. They can't. They don't have time. They're busy. They're juggling two or three jobs. When I'm there, I do my part. We must do our part. And the other parents, they do their part. It can be bringing dinner for all the kids. It can be, watching after the kids when they're doing the biking and how do you call that new thing? Scooter, etc. on the street. We have to be able to create these communities, communities of care. Being black by itself does not mean community. It's the actions that show the sense of a community, the support.
Right. Free Will says, of course, they will over sexualize who they have been targeting. Porno's etymology stems from Roman Greco culture. Let us keep it real. All right. So, Cesar, you've went a little bit extra time. Do you want to go any further or do you want to call it here for now?
Address the last two topics briefly
Okay. So,
for us to finish at 6:30.
let's go this one. 47 responds to his failure to create jobs by firing the U.S. labor statistics chief.
Dr. Vibe, it is not about the labor statistic chief. And it's not even so much about a failure to create jobs. This is a conversation in terms of the labor, the job statistics to the Smithsonian removal of Trump being impeached twice. It is a war on data. It's a war on the truth. This is no surprise coming from a man, a businessman, a populist candidate to the presidency who became president of the United States, aka POTUS, twice. He lies like he breathes. So, of course, he will remove someone who will have the courage to speak the truth. He is an enemy to the truth. He has to be. He cannot be there if he would have been truthful. The bigger problem, if you ask me, why so many people choose to follow a man who blatantly lie to the face, will lie and keeps lying to the faces despite factual proof presented to them. This is a reflection on society. Trump is literally just a symptom of a larger conversation in terms of the fall of the Western world. The very resistance, the challenge of white supremacy. That's why he represents. So, yes, of course, he fired the labor statistic chief because he didn't make him look good. When you care more about the appearance of what a truth or a lie does than about the content, it speaks volume to the character of who you are. I mean, it goes back to every conversation we've had. Allow me to again mention his name. Shannon Sharp, caring more about the appearance of this young white girl who seems so sexually liberated in practice as in language, instead of caring about the quality content of a woman of his age or even a little bit younger, where he could have been honored and respected, fitting the nickname so many give him in the black community. Dr. Vab, do you know the nickname of Shannon Sharp in the black community?
Not aware.
Uncle.
Unk, yes, Unk, yes.
Unc. Unc Shannon Sharp.
Yeah.
Who would want an uncle like that who literally just wasted $25 million on a young white female prostitute because he sexually fetishizes white women?
And he's also up now for another lawsuit.
Oh, I didn't hear that part. From ESPN, I think, no?
No, this is another one about another lady accusing him about it isn't sexual, but sort of like him saying something about her that was not true at an Usher concert, but she sued him for $20 million.
Ah, well, there you go. Brother's gonna become broke because he was unable or unwilling to have peace control and to be able to focus. So this is the larger conversation that we're talking about. It is literally a war on the truth that this man, this president, this felon, let's be honest, if he was black, everybody would make sure to remind us that he's a felon. This felon is conducting a war on truth. And as such, he cares more about the appearance things than about the content of them.
Yeah, like I'd like to ask, just out of curiosity, people who voted for him, would you invite him into your house?
People who voted for Trump.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. No, absolutely not. But I will explain. I will explain. And I think it's very important that our people understand. Because at the same time, I'm saying absolutely not. I always encourage the conversation and the dialogue between opposing parties. Allow me to give here the example of a black man. I will call him a brother with whom I disagree a lot. Michael, I forget his last name. I'm always thinking Michael Singleton,
I
the
think,
the black.
yeah, he's on a lot of the roundtables that Abby Phillip hosts on CNN.
There you go. The reason I would not invite such a person, I don't care about why people voted for Trump. That is absolutely no surprise. They voted for someone who looks like the father and grandfather, uncaring of his racism, sexism, bigotry, and xenophobia. And like I said, I feel absolutely zero sympathy for those who voted for him and who will suffer due to his policies, such as on tariffs and now, as we see regarding the Epstein file. But when it comes to black people, the reason I would not invite such a person in my household wouldn't bother me to have someone like that in my household. But my situation has changed. I have a wife and a child. Why would I possibly invite in my household someone, notably black, who could be the uncle, who could be the father of the cousins and nieces, etc.? Why would I invite this person when that person felt at ease to vote and put in power someone who literally, with a single signature, could sign the death sentence of my family by his policies? And by policies, I'm talking about the measure that he intends to do regarding police, the restriction on police regarding police brutality, and notably the conversation about how do you call that? I think freeing or reducing the sentencing of Derek Chauvin. Why would I want someone like that in my household? It
Free,
wouldn't make sense.
Free Will says Felon 47 is fighting his own for his own divine destiny. He is a bozo. He says typo, his own destiny. I live in the United States, and 47 is just well, everybody knows.
Everybody knows, yeah.
All right, and we'll finish off with this last conversation piece. Canada and the U.S. not reaching a deal on tariffs.
Yeah. How to put it? From 25% to 35%. But I think so. I listened to this interesting perspective about how Trump calls a deal what may not even be a deal, to the surprise even other nations that are not even aware that there's a deal going on. What was the promise? 90 deals in 90 deals,
Yeah,
aka
for
with
90
90
days.
countries
90
in
days.
90 days.
Never happened.
Never happened. Not even deals with 10 countries.
And even the funny thing is, all these deals, they haven't been signed yet.
They haven't been signed yet, and even the so-called deals, uh, such as on with the European Union,
Yes.
they are so hardly contested in Europe. People are
Yes.
offended.
Yes.
People are offended. They're feeling like what's the name? The president of the European
Ursula
Council, Ursula
Andress is her name.
Ursula von der Leyen, that she has betrayed Europe. So what's happening really, the way I'm seeing it, is that our black community, because I want to bring it back to our black community, unfortunately, will suffer harder because socioeconomically, uh, as much as indeed the black community is not poor, the nature of choices, but as well of systemic racism, makes it that tougher economic times tend to impact further marginalized communities, such as we saw during the COVID pandemic, but
Yep.
we didn't need COVID to know this.
Yep.
So the rising of prices, right now, we are in August. School starts in 3 to 4 weeks.
Yep.
The prices of goods for school will increase. And then after that, we have 4 months. The holiday. Just take a quick moment.
Yeah.
You just introduce yourself. Let Dr. It was. I'm here. I'm still here. I can't hear you, Dr. Vibe.
We're back. Go ahead.
Thank you. Christmas is coming. The holiday period is coming. I think Canada's Prime Minister, Mark Carney, is doing the best he can. But again, this might just be an opportunity for Canada to be, when I say might, it is an opportunity for Canada to be less reliant,
Yep.
less dependent on the United States. But the impact is already being felt with loss of jobs, notably in Quebec, but as well in Ontario. But it's also being felt on the other side of the border with
US too.
yes,
Yep.
American senators and governors
Especially from red
trying hard.
states. A lot of them for red states.
Exactly. Red states that voted for Trump. I saw, what's his name? Rand Paul, Senator Rand Paul, being part of a conversation to bring down the tariffs or basically put them to an end because it is hurting the business in the US. Mitch McConnell with Kentucky Bourbon. This conversation on tariffs will absolutely deepen because what's that expression again? Taco?
Yes.
It's about the impact it will really have on the American consumers. And that impact right now is still summer.
Yep.
Of,
But those labor statistics showed things that were starting to happen.
but wait, Dr. Vibe. Right now it's still summer.
Yes, hot
You
summer.
know,
Hot.
yeah,
Someone I know said it'd be a hot summer. I don't know who
hot
that
summer.
was.
It's still summer. But guess what's going to happen? What tends to happen? Increase on gas, electricity, all the bills go up as it gets colder and colder. And then you get that time of the year, the holiday period, good to family get-togethers and all that. Summer, summer is hot. It's a hot summer. Winter is coming. Winter is coming. And I don't think the
Winter is
Trump
coming. Winter
and I
is
don't
coming.
think and I don't think this Trump administration will be able to evade the consequences of his policies, the consequences of his policies in relation to
It's time. It's time. It's time. It's time. Hey, bonjour. Bonjour.
And she's with her
Oh,
little
you got two.
cousin
No, we got
Zoe.
two
Yeah, she's with her cousin Zoe.
friends.
Say hi.
All right. Bonjour.
Dis bonjour, Yum Yum. Bonjour.
Bonjour. Comment ça va?
Ça va bien. Ça va bien. Okay, Yum Yum. Let me finish. Give me 2 minutes and I come up. No, no, no. C'est pour tonton. Okay, go. Ferme la porte. Merci. 6:26, right?
Yep.
Sometimes I think it's a mom will send her to tell
She
me
knows. Come back.
start.
She's the timekeeper. She knows the time. Timekeeper. She's on it. All
But
right.
so Dr. Vibe, when you say this, honestly, how can I invite a Trump voter into my household? We can debate, we can discuss, let's meet. But why would I invite? And let's put it the other way around. Would a Trump voter want me, Cesar, a Pan Africanist whose fist is raised but arm is open, a Pan Africanist will support women's rights,
No,
LGBTQ rights,
I don't know if that would happen. Don't know.
will absolutely oppose the impact of religion on black people? Would a Trump voter want me in the House? Of course not. They would definitely debate me. Ben Shapiro, I welcome him to a debate. Charlie Kirk, I welcome him to a debate. Candace Owens, of course I welcome her to a debate. I would love that. I would love to debate with them. Let us talk, let us exchange. But why would I go to the House? At this point, it is not possible. Joe Rogan, I'm loving what I'm seeing.
For now.
For now. But there is that critical analysis, and Tucker Carlson, we know he's not a true MAGA. We always know that. People do what they do, but I'm talking about those who are truly. That's why I give the example of the brother, Sher Michael. I always forget his last name. I don't even understand how I do it.
Singleton.
But you know, when I say Singleton, it's because I'm always thinking about our brother who passed away, the movie maker.
Yes. Oh.
I'm always thinking that his first name is Shermack, but he can't be.
No, it's not. Why am I John Singleton?
That's so. I'm thinking Shermichael, the black Republican on CNN. But when I say Singleton, I'm thinking about
John Singleton, the
the
filmmaker.
black Johnson. Okay, but yes, same last name. So yeah, Shermichael Singleton. When I see, it's not. Please, let's be careful. It's not so much about being a black Republican, but a black MAGA. Always defending, always twisting and bending in order to oh my, even I don't go that far with Pan-Africanism, and I'm a Pan-Africanist. Even I, with my black pride, I point the fingers at some of the flaws of DEI and EDI, clearly saying it is not right to use certain language and make certain references as if each and every.
All right. Well, that is it for today. We got bonus time with Cesar, which is always a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you for making the time. Appreciate that, especially with the timekeeper ready to come back in. So before we finish off, as always, if you want to get a hold of Cesar, email him present@rootsandculturecanada.com, Facebook Cesar Remy Emery. If you want to subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on the YouTube channel, please subscribe and hit the notification button. Also like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, and Substack. To advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms I'm a part of, please email me dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. If you want to touch base with me, website, the drvibeshow.com, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, The Dr. Vibe Show, Instagram, at The Dr. Vibe Show, X/Twitter at drvibeshow, email address, I've said it already. I also have... Just do that. You can catch me on Substack at drvibe.substack.com/subscribe and on Blue Sky at drvibe.bsky social, and you can catch replays of the Dr. Vibe Show and Black Canada Talking on the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, of course, and the Dr. Vibe Show website. All right, that's it for today. As always, live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions, aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Remember to give yourself grace. And if you're not making money, make history. Try to do both and always make it better. God bless. Peace to all. Keep the faith. Walk good. And we'll catch you on the streets.
Just take a quick moment.
Yeah.
You just introduce yourself. Let Dr. Vibe welcome you into the show. As I told you, Dr. Vibe.
No. I welcome and really good to have you here. I didn't want to. You were on a roll. I didn't want to interrupt. You were on a roll, but
In an award created by whites, dominated by whites, run by whites, and you're a billionaire, bro. FYI, I don't. It's probably the first time of the year that I use the word, bro.
yes, it is. That's the first time, as long as I've known you, you used it.
My daughter would laugh.
But for many people, the economy ain't great.
There we go. I saw that.